The triplets were late again. 3 small backpacks, 3 identical worried faces, 3 children standing at the edge of a sidewalk where no one ever stopped to help. That's when they saw him. A black SUV idling at the curb like a predator waiting. A man in a dark coat stepping out like he owned the street. Because in every way that mattered, he did. Men around him who looked like danger had learned to walk upright. Lily moved first. She always did.
"Mister, can you walk us to school today?"
The sound of the city seemed to shut off. People froze mid-step. A driver forgot to honk. Even the man's bodyguards reached for weapons. Because children didn't talk to men like him. Especially not janitor's kids. Especially not in public. But the man didn't get angry. He knelt. And in that moment, something impossible happened. The most feared figure in Chicago listened to 3 terrified children explain why the world no longer felt safe. Across the street, a black SUV rolled its window down. A different vehicle. A different threat. A mistake was made. Because compassion was mistaken for weakness, and protection was mistaken for vulnerability. What those men didn't understand was this. The man the triplets asked for help wasn't just powerful. He had rules. And one of them was simple. You never touch children. What happened next didn't just protect 3 kids. It exposed corruption. It united a neighborhood. And it forced a man built by violence to choose what kind of legacy he would leave behind. Stay with me, because this isn't just a story about fear. It's about courage, and what happens when innocence asks the wrong man for help. And he says yes. Marcus Reed's alarm went off at 3:47 a.m. Not because he wanted it to, because that's what survival demanded. He rolled out of bed in the dark apartment, careful not to wake the triplets sleeping in the next room. The floor was cold. The radiator hadn't worked in 3 weeks, and the landlord kept promising next week, always next week. He pulled on his uniform, the grey shirt with maintenance stitched across the back, and laced up boots that had seen better years. In the kitchen, he made coffee from yesterday's grounds, because a fresh can wasn't in the budget. Not this week. Not with Eli's glasses needing repair and Noah's school shoes splitting at the sole. By 4:30 a.m., Marcus was on the train heading downtown. The city was still asleep, but the towers weren't. Glass and steel gleamed under floodlights as cleaning crews moved through lobbies like ghosts. Marcus joined them. He scrubbed floors in the Hancock building until 8 a.m. Barely had. Time to catch his breath before heading to a second job at a warehouse in Pilsen. He thought about his wife sometimes during those long shifts. Sarah. She'd always said he worked too hard. She'd kissed his forehead the morning of the accident and told him to take a break. He never got the chance to tell her he would. Now there were 3 reasons he couldn't. By 3 p.m., Marcus was back on the train, racing to pick up the triplets from school. They attended a small academy on the south side, not fancy, but safe. Or it used to be.
"Dad, you're late,"
Eli said when Marcus arrived, breathless and sweating. "I know, buddy. I'm sorry." "It's okay," Lily said quietly. She always said that, even when it wasn't. Noah didn't say anything. He just stayed close to Marcus's side as they walked home. That night, while Marcus made spaghetti from a box and sauce from a can, Lily spoke up. "Dad, can someone walk us to school?" Marcus paused mid-stir. "What do you mean? I walk you every morning." "We mean after you leave," Noah added. "When we're waiting outside." Marcus turned to face them. 3 pairs of eyes stared back at him, and for the first time in weeks, he saw something that made his chest tighten. Fear. Why? What's going on? Eli looked at his siblings, then back at his father.
There's a man. He watches us.
What man?
We don't know his name, Lily said. But he's always there, near the fence, sometimes in a black car.
Marcus felt his pulse quicken. How long has this been happening?
3 weeks,
Noah whispered. 3 weeks. Marcus wanted to scream. 3 weeks, and they hadn't said anything because they didn't want to worry him. Because they knew he was already stretched too thin. Why didn't you tell me?
You have 3 jobs, Dad,
Eli said softly.
We didn't want to make it worse.
Marcus knelt down, pulling all 3 of them into a hug. Listen to me. Nothing is more important than you 3. Nothing. If something's wrong, you tell me. Always. They nodded against his chest. That night, Marcus called the police. The officer who answered sounded bored. Has this man approached them? No, but has he threatened them? Not directly, but my kids are scared. Sir, I understand your concern. But without evidence of a crime, there's not much we can do. Keep an eye out. Call us if anything escalates. Marcus hung up, feeling hollow. He called again 2 days later when Lily mentioned the man had been parked outside their apartment building. This time, a different officer responded. They sent a patrol car. The officer looked around, saw nothing suspicious, and left after 10 minutes. Probably just a concerned neighbor, the officer said, or someone waiting for a friend. But Marcus knew better. Concerned neighbors didn't make children afraid to walk to school. The breaking point came on a Thursday morning. Marcus was running late, again. His supervisor at the warehouse had already warned him, one more tardy arrival and he'd be replaced.
There were 100 men who'd take his job for 50 cents less an hour. He dropped the triplets off at their usual spot, a block from the school, and sprinted to catch the train. He didn't see the black SUV parked across the street. Didn't see the man inside, watching his children with cold, calculating eyes. But the triplets did. And that morning, something changed. Because that morning, they saw someone else. Another black SUV, another man stepping out. But this one was different. This one had bodyguards who moved like soldiers. This one had a reputation that made grown men cross the street. And when Lily looked at her brothers, something desperate and brave bloomed in her chest. "Come on," she said. Before Eli or Noah could stop her, she was walking toward the man in the dark coat. Toward Victor Moretti. Toward the most dangerous decision they'd ever made. Victor Moretti didn't believe in accidents. Everything happened for a reason. Every betrayal, every bullet, every scar hidden beneath his tailored suits. The world was a machine built on power and fear, and Victor had spent 30 years learning how to operate it. He stepped out of the SUV at exactly 7:43 a.m., same as every morning. Routine was safety. Predictability was control. His driver, Sal, knew to park on this corner because it gave Victor a clear view of 3 streets and 2 alleys. His bodyguards, Marco and Vincent, knew to stand exactly 6 feet apart, scanning for threats. This wasn't paranoia. This was survival. Victor had built his empire from nothing. Orphaned at 8, homeless at 10, running numbers for the outfit by 12. He'd learned early that mercy got you killed and hesitation got you buried. By 25, he'd taken over the South Side docks. By 30, he controlled half the city's underground economy. By 40, judges knew his name, and prosecutors knew better than to say it out loud. But Victor had rules. No drugs in schools, no violence against women, and never, ever touch children. That last rule wasn't business. It was personal. When Victor was 7, before his parents died, before the world turned sharp and cruel, he'd had a little sister, Elena. She'd been 5 years old with dark curls and a laugh that sounded like bells. One night, a man came into their apartment. Victor's father owed money. The man wanted to send a message. Elena never laughed again. Victor found her the next morning, curled up in the closet where she'd tried to hide. She wasn't physically hurt, but something inside her had broken. She stopped talking, stopped eating. 6 months later, she was gone. Victor was 8 when he
made his first kill. The man who'd hurt his sister. It wasn't clean. It wasn't quick. And Victor never regretted it. That memory lived in him like a second heartbeat. It informed every decision, every deal, every line he refused to cross. So when people in Chicago whispered about Victor Moretti, they didn't just talk about his power. They talked about his code. Cross him, and you'd disappear. But hurt a child in his city, and you'd pray for disappearance. This morning was supposed to be routine. Meet with his accountant, review shipment schedules, handle a territorial dispute on the west side. Then 3 children walked toward him. At first, Victor thought they were lost. Then he thought they were stupid. Children in this city knew better than to approach men like him. Their parents taught them. The streets taught them. But these 3 kept coming. A little girl with her hair in a neat bun, 2 boys flanking her like nervous bodyguards. All 3 wearing backpacks that looked too big for their small frames. Marco moved to intercept. Vincent's hand went to the gun beneath his jacket. "Wait," Victor said quietly. The children stopped 3 feet away, close enough to see the ink crawling up Victor's neck, close enough to notice the scar cutting through his left eyebrow, close enough to run. But they didn't. The little girl spoke first.
"Mister, can you walk us to school today?"
Victor stared at her. Around him, the city seemed to hold its breath. A businessman across the street pretended to check his phone while watching. A woman at the bus stop gripped her purse tighter. Even Sal, who'd seen Victor handle every kind of crisis, looked genuinely shocked. Children didn't approach men like Victor Moretti, not unless they were desperate. Victor studied them. Their clothes were clean but worn. Their shoes were scuffed. The little girl's coat had a button missing. These weren't privileged kids testing boundaries. These were children who'd already learned that the world was dangerous, and adults couldn't always protect them. Victor knew that lesson. He'd learned it at 7. "Why?" he asked. The boys exchanged glances. The girl's chin trembled, but she didn't back down.
"Because there's a man who follows us, and our dad can't always be there, and the police don't believe us. And you—"
She paused, glancing at the SUV, the bodyguards, the obvious weight of Victor's presence.
"You look like someone people don't mess with."
Silence. Then, impossibly, Victor Moretti did something he hadn't done in 20 years. He knelt. His bodyguards looked ready to have heart attacks. Across the street, someone actually gasped. Victor looked into the girl's eyes. "What's your name?"
"Lily. These are my brothers, Eli and Noah."
"How old are you?"
7.
"And this man who's following you, what does he look like?" Eli spoke up, voice shaking.
"He's tall, skinny. He drives a black SUV, but it's old. And he knows our names."
Victor's jaw tightened. "He spoke to you?"
"Once," Noah whispered. "He said we looked just like our mom." The air changed. Victor stood slowly,
And when he did, something in his expression made Marco take an involuntary step back.
"What's your school?" Victor asked.
"Southbridge Academy," Lily said. "It's 4 blocks that way." Victor checked his watch. 7:51 a.m. His accountant was waiting. The shipment meeting couldn't be delayed. None of it mattered. "Let's go," Victor said. And just like that, Chicago's most feared man became 3 children's protector. The walk to Southbridge Academy took 12 minutes. It was the longest 12 minutes of Marco's career. Victor Moretti didn't walk children to school. Victor Moretti didn't deviate from routines. Victor Moretti certainly didn't expose himself in broad daylight, surrounded by civilians who could be witnesses, threats, or liabilities. But here they were. Lily walked on Victor's left, chattering nervously about her teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, who let them read during snack time. Eli walked on his right, quieter, but visibly relaxed now that someone was listening. Noah stayed close to his siblings, eyes darting to every car, every alley, every shadow. The boy was already learning to see threats. Victor recognized it. He'd been the same way at that age. Behind them, Marco and Vincent formed a loose perimeter, scanning rooftops and parked vehicles. Sal followed in the SUV at a crawl, engine purring like a warning. People noticed. Of course they noticed. Victor Moretti walking with children was like seeing a wolf lead lambs. Impossible. Unnatural. Deeply wrong. But no one intervened. No one asked questions. They just stared, pulled out phones, and recorded. By the time they reached the school, the video was already uploading. Southbridge Academy was a 2-story brick building with chain-link fencing and a playground that had seen better decades. Children were filing through the gates in clusters, parents dropping them off before rushing to work. Victor stopped at the entrance. Lily, Eli, and Noah turned to face him.
"Thank you, mister,"
Lily said. "Victor," he corrected. "Call me Victor."
"Thank you, Mr. Victor."
"Close enough." "This man has been following you," Victor said, crouching again to meet their eye level. "If you see him today, anywhere, you find your teacher immediately. You tell her you need to call your father. Understand?" All 3 nodded. "And if your teacher doesn't believe you, you call me." Victor pulled a business card from his pocket. It was blank except for a phone number. "This is my direct line. No one else answers it. If you're in trouble, you call, day or night." Eli took the card with trembling hands.
"Won't you get in trouble for helping us?"
Victor smiled, but there was no warmth in it.
"Kid, I've been in trouble since I was your age. This is nothing." Noah spoke up, voice barely audible.
"Why are you helping us?"
It was the question Victor had been asking himself. The answer was complicated. The truth was buried under 30 years of violence and survival, and choices that had carved away pieces of his humanity. But when he looked at these 3 children, 7 years old, scared, abandoned by systems that were supposed to protect them, the answer became simple. "Because someone should," Victor said. He stood, nodded to Marco, and walked away. He didn't look back. Looking back was how you got attached, how you made mistakes, how you started caring about things you couldn't afford to care about. But he could feel their eyes on him until he reached the SUV. Inside the vehicle, Sal broke the silence. "Boss, you know that's going to be everywhere by noon, right?" Victor did know. He'd seen at least 15 people recording. By now, the video was probably viral. "Chicago crime lord walks children to school" would make headlines. Questions would follow. Attention would increase. He'd just painted a target on those kids. "Get me everything on Southbridge Academy," Victor said. "Staff, security, incidents in the last 6 months. I want to know if anyone's been arrested near that school. I want to know about custody disputes, restraining orders, anything that involves children." "On it," Vincent said, already typing on his phone. "And find out who owns that black SUV the kids mentioned. Old model. Probably watching the school." Marco leaned forward. "Boss, with respect, this isn't our business." "It is now." The SUV pulled away from the curb, merging into morning traffic. Victor stared out the window, watching Chicago slide past. The city he controlled. The city that feared him. The city that would never forgive him for the things he'd done. But those 3 kids didn't know any of that. They'd just seen someone who looked strong enough to protect them. And for reasons Victor didn't fully understand, he couldn't let them be wrong. His phone buzzed. A text from his accountant. "Where are you?" Victor ignored it. There were more important things than money. There were children who knew someone's name when they shouldn't, who'd been watched for weeks, who'd been ignored by police and failed by every system designed to help them. Victor had spent his life operating outside those systems. He'd built an empire in the shadows because the light had never protected people like him. Maybe it was time to see if those shadows could protect someone else. His phone buzzed again, this time a news alert. "Viral video. Chicago's most feared crime boss walks children to school." Below it, the video. 43,000 views already. Comments rolling in. Half were shocked, the other half were making jokes. None of them understood what
Had just happened.
Across town, in a different black SUV, a thin man watched the same video on his phone. He smiled and started planning. Trelo Stone Keller watched the video 7 times. Each viewing made him angrier. He sat in his SUV 3 blocks from Southbridge Academy, fingers drumming against the steering wheel, in a rhythm that matched his racing thoughts. The leather was cracked. The dashboard had cigarette burns. Everything about the vehicle screamed, barely held together, just like Raymond himself. On his phone, Victor Moretti knelt before 3 children. Raymond's children. The ones he'd been cultivating for weeks. The ones who were supposed to be isolated, vulnerable, easy. Now Chicago's biggest crime lord was playing protector. Raymond wanted to scream. He'd been planning this for 2 months. Ever since he'd spotted Marcus Reed struggling with 3 kids at a grocery store, exhausted and overwhelmed. Raymond had a gift for recognizing weakness, and single fathers with no support system. That was weakness, wrapped in desperation. He'd started slow, showing up near the school, learning their routine, making himself familiar. Children trusted familiar. Their survival instincts hadn't fully formed yet. A kind smile, a gentle wave. Eventually, they'd stop seeing him as a stranger. That was the plan. Patience, opportunity. And when Marcus Reed was at his breaking point, maybe after losing one of his 3 jobs, Raymond would offer help, childcare assistance, a friendly neighbor, a wolf in shepherd's clothing. It had worked before. Raymond had been careful. He'd learned from past mistakes. No digital footprint, no contact with the children in front of witnesses. Just careful, calculated grooming from a distance. And it had been working. He'd seen the fear growing in the triplets, seen them looking over their shoulders, seen the exact moment when Lily had wanted to tell her father but couldn't bear to add to his stress. Perfect. Then Victor Moretti happened. Raymond replayed the video again,
The way those children approached him without fear. The way that monster knelt like he was some kind of saint. The way thousands of people were now watching, commenting, making those kids visible when they were supposed to stay invisible. His phone buzzed. A message in an encrypted app from a username he didn't recognize. Saw your potential opportunity just got complicated. Raymond stared at the message. How did they know? He'd been so careful. Another message. Don't panic. This could work in your favor. Moretti's protection makes them higher value. Certain buyers pay premium for children with stories.
Raymond's blood ran cold, then hot. He wasn't part of any network. He worked alone, always had. The idea that someone else was watching, tracking, waiting, it should have terrified him. Instead, it thrilled him. He typed back, "Who is this?" Someone with resources. Someone who sees opportunity where you see obstacles. Moretti's involved now. That means attention, heat, but also proof of resilience. These kids survived your stalking. They sought help from the most dangerous man in Chicago. That's valuable. Raymond's hands shook. What do you want? Partnership. You deliver them. We handle distribution. Split is 60-40. You're the hunter. We're the market. Every instinct told Raymond to delete the app, throw the phone away, run. But he was broke. Living in a studio apartment that smelled like mildew and failure. Working a dead-end job at a warehouse where nobody knew his name. He'd been fired from his last 3 positions for inappropriate conduct, which was corporate speak for things he'd done that hadn't quite crossed into criminal charges. He was running out of options. And these 3 kids, Marcus Reed's triplets, they represented a way out. How do I know you're real? Raymond typed. The response came with an attachment. A photo of Raymond from this morning, sitting in this exact SUV, watching the school. We've been watching you, Raymond. We know what you want. We can help you get it. But you need to move fast. Moretti changes everything. Raymond's heart hammered. How do you know my name? Another photo. This one from inside his apartment. His laptop visible on a coffee table. His dirty dishes piled in the sink. His life exposed in a single image. The message continued. Moretti thinks he's protecting them. He's not. He's making them famous. Famous means valuable. But famous also means exposed. You just need to be smarter than him. And we'll help. Raymond sat back, mind racing. He'd never worked with anyone before, never trusted anyone. His whole life had been about isolation, doing terrible things in private where no one could witness or judge. But Victor Moretti was a problem Raymond couldn't solve alone. Maybe he didn't have to. What's the plan? He typed. Make them need protection more than ever. Escalate. Force Moretti's hand. The more attention he draws, the more chaos we create. And in chaos, children disappear. Meet me tomorrow. I'll send location. Raymond stared at the screen. Every rational part of him said this was a trap. But desperation made people stupid. And Raymond had been desperate for a long time. He'd been alone his whole life. Unwanted, invisible. The kind of person people forgot 2 minutes after meeting. He'd learned to use that invisibility, to slip through crowds unnoticed, to watch from shadows where nobody looked. But now someone saw him. Someone understood him. Someone wanted to help him do the things he'd only dreamed about. Okay, Raymond typed. I'm in. The reply came instantly. Good. First step. Make sure Moretti knows those children are still in danger. Make sure he understands his protection isn't enough. Can you do that?
Raymond looked toward the school. Morning drop-off was ending. Parents were leaving. Teachers were herding children inside. Somewhere in that building, 3 kids thought they were safe because a crime lord had walked them to school. They had no idea what was coming. Yeah, Raymond whispered to himself. I can do that. He started the engine. The SUV coughed, sputtered, then caught. Raymond pulled away from the curb, slowly, carefully, like a predator retreating to plan the next attack. On his phone, the video kept playing. Victor Moretti kneeling. Those children trusting him. Everyone made mistakes. Moretti's mistake was thinking power could protect innocence. Raymond would teach him otherwise. Marcus Reed knew something was wrong the moment he saw the news. He was on his lunch break, standing in a warehouse break room that smelled like industrial cleaner and stale coffee, when his supervisor walked in with a phone.
Hey, Marcus, isn't that your kids?
The video was already at 2 million views. Marcus watched himself in the background, barely visible, rushing away to catch a train, while his 3 children approached a man in a dark coat. The video was grainy, shot from across the street, but the moment was clear. Lily asking for help, the man kneeling, the walk to school.
Who is that guy?
His supervisor asked. Marcus didn't answer. Couldn't. Because he'd just recognized the tattoos climbing up the man's neck, the way other people stepped back when he moved, the armored SUV and the bodyguards who looked like they'd killed before. Victor Moretti. Marcus had heard the name. Everyone in Chicago had. Moretti was the ghost story parents used to keep kids in line. The reason certain neighborhoods stayed quiet. The man you didn't mention unless you wanted trouble. And his children had asked him for help. Marcus's phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Reed. Yes? This is Victor Moretti. We need to talk about your children. Marcus's blood turned to ice. If you hurt them, I'm not going to hurt them. I walked them to school this morning. But we have a problem. What problem? The man who's been following them. I'm handling it. But you need to know. Things might get complicated. Marcus sank into a plastic chair. What does that mean? It means I made them visible. The video's everywhere. That's good and bad. Good because now that man knows he's being watched. Bad because... Victor paused. Bad because some people might see those kids as leverage against me. Leverage? I have
Enemies, Mr. Reed. A lot of them. And now your children are associated with me. That makes them valuable. So here's what's going to happen. I'm putting security on your building. Unmarked. You won't see them, but they'll be there. I'm also assigning a detail to the school. And I need you to trust me. Marcus wanted to scream. To grab his kids and run. To undo whatever chain of events had led to this moment. But he was also a realist. He'd gone to the police twice. They'd done nothing. His children had been terrified for weeks. And now the most dangerous man in Chicago was offering protection. What choice did he have? I want to meet you, Marcus said. Face to face. Tonight. I'll send a car at 8. Your kids need to stay inside until then. The line went dead. Marcus called the academy. The principal assured him the children were fine, but her voice was tight with stress.
Mr. Reed, we've had reporters outside all morning, and police. They're asking about the man in the video, about your children.
Keep them inside, please. I'll pick them up myself today.
Of course.
Marcus left work early. He didn't care about the consequences, didn't care about the supervisor's shouted warnings. He ran to the train, his mind spinning through worst-case scenarios. What if the stalker escalated? What if Moretti's enemies came after his kids? What if the police decided to investigate and tore apart Marcus's life looking for criminal connections he didn't have. He reached the school at 2:47 p.m. A crowd had gathered outside. Reporters, camera crews, parents who'd heard about the video and wanted to see the famous children. Marcus pushed through, ignoring questions shouted in his direction. Inside, he found Eli, Noah, and Lily sitting in the principal's office, looking small and scared.
Dad!
Lily launched herself at him. Marcus held all three of them, trying to shield them from the chaos outside.
Are we in trouble?
Noah whispered. No, buddy, you're not in trouble.
Is Mr. Victor?
Marcus didn't know how to answer that. Let's just get home. The walk back was a nightmare. Reporters followed. Phones recorded. Marcus kept his head down and moved fast, one hand on each child, their backpacks bouncing against small shoulders. They made it home by 3:30. Marcus locked the door, checked every window, and pulled the blinds shut. That's when he saw it. An envelope under the door. Plain, white, no markings. Marcus opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a single photo. His children, this morning, walking with Victor Moretti. But this photo wasn't from the viral video. This was from a different angle, closer, more intimate. Someone had been watching. Someone who hadn't posted online. Someone who wanted Marcus to know they could get close whenever they wanted. On the back of the photo, written in neat handwriting, "Protection is an illusion. He can't watch them forever." Marcus dropped the photo like it had burned him.
Dad?
Eli's voice came from the living room.
There's someone outside. Marcus moved to the window. Across the street, partially hidden by a parked truck, was a black SUV. Old model, cracked windshield. The same one his children had described. Marcus grabbed his phone, dialing the number Moretti had called from. It rang once. Mr. Reed. He's outside my building. Right now. I know. My people spotted him 5 minutes ago. Stay inside. Lock the doors. Don't let the children near windows. You said you were handling this. I am, but he's bold. That's a problem. Victor's voice was cold, controlled. He wants me to react. Wants me to do something public that'll bring more attention. I'm not giving him that. So what? We just wait? No. We set a trap. But I need you to trust me. Marcus looked at his children. Eli clutching his glasses. Noah pressed against Lily. All three of them watching their father, with eyes that had seen too much fear lately. I don't have a choice, do I? We always have choices, Mr. Reed. But some choices are better than others. Outside, the black SUV's engine started. It pulled away slowly, deliberately, as if the driver wanted to be seen leaving. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. 8 p.m., black car. Be ready. Then another message. This one with an attachment. A photo of Raymond Keller, full name, address, criminal history, and a single line. This is who's been watching your children. Marcus stared at the face on his screen. Thin, unremarkable. The kind of person you'd forget 2 seconds after passing on the street. The kind of monster who hid in plain sight.
Dad?
Lily's voice again.
Are we going to be okay?
Marcus wanted to lie. Wanted to tell them everything would be fine. That the police would help. That the system worked. That bad people always got caught. But he'd learned better. We're going to fight, Marcus said instead. And we're not going to do it alone.
Outside, the sun was setting over Chicago. Shadows lengthened. Streetlights flickered on. And somewhere in those shadows, Victor Moretti was preparing for war. The apparently breathtaking marker 5 million views by dinner time. But something else happened. Something Raymond Keller hadn't anticipated. Chicago woke up. It started with a mother in Pilsen named Rosa Martinez. She'd seen the video of Victor Moretti walking 3 terrified children to school, and something about it had cracked open a memory she'd been trying to forget. Her daughter had mentioned a man watching their playground 2 weeks ago. Rosa dismissed it, told herself she was being paranoid. Now she wasn't so sure. She posted in a neighborhood Facebook group. Anyone else notice
Suspicious people near Southbridge Academy? My daughter goes there. After seeing that video, I'm worried. Within an hour, 17 parents responded. Yes, black SUV, old model. My son mentioned a thin man near the fence. I saw someone taking photos near the playground last month. The police told me I was overreacting. The thread exploded. Parents who'd been afraid to speak up, afraid of sounding paranoid, afraid of making a scene, suddenly realized they weren't alone. Someone created a shared document. Parents started logging sightings, dates, times, vehicle descriptions. Patterns emerged. The same man, the same SUV. Weeks of calculated surveillance that no one had connected until 3 children had been brave enough, or desperate enough, to ask a stranger for help. By 7 p.m., the document had 43 entries. By 8 p.m., someone had leaked it to a local news station. By 9 p.m., Chicago's mayor was facing reporters asking why police hadn't acted on weeks of complaints about a predator stalking an elementary school. Inside a modest apartment on the south side, Marcus Reed sat across from Victor Moretti. The crime lord looked different in person. Older, more tired. The tattoos were still visible, crawling up his neck like dark vines. But his eyes were what caught Marcus's attention. They were sad. Your children did something brave today, Victor said. Most adults wouldn't have had the courage. They were desperate. There's a difference. No, there isn't. Victor leaned forward. Desperation doesn't create courage. It reveals it. Your kids could have stayed silent, could have accepted that no one would help. They chose to fight back. That matters. Marcus studied him. Why are you doing this? Really? Victor was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried weight that had nothing to do with power. I had a sister once, Elena. She was 5. Someone hurt her. Not physically, but hurt her enough that she stopped being herself. I was 8. I couldn't protect her. By the time I was old enough to do something about it, she was gone. I'm sorry. Don't be. Be smart. Victor pulled out a tablet, showing Marcus the shared document parents had created. This is happening because your children spoke up. Because they made what was invisible visible. But visibility is dangerous. The man outside, Raymond Keller, registered sex offender, multiple complaints, never enough evidence to prosecute. He's been escalating for months, and your kids were his next target. Marcus felt sick. What do? We use the momentum. The city's watching now. Parents are organizing. Media's asking questions. That's pressure. But Keller won't back down because of pressure. Men like him don't operate on rational fear. Then what? We make him make a mistake. Draw him out. But we need to be smart about it. Victor swiped the tablet screen. I've got people watching your building, watching the school, watching Keller's apartment. But he's got resources I didn't expect. What do you mean? He's not working alone anymore. Someone's helping him. Someone with money and connections. Victor's jaw tightened. That makes this complicated. Outside, Marcus's children were watching television with one of Victor's men, a bodyguard named Marco, who'd promised them hot chocolate if they stayed quiet. I can't believe this is my life, Marcus said quietly. Neither can I. Victor stood, moving to the window. But here we are. You've got a choice, Mr. Reed. I can handle Keller. I can make him disappear. But that doesn't solve the bigger problem. What bigger problem? The system that failed your children. The police who ignored complaints. The bureaucracy that makes parents feel crazy for protecting their kids. Victor turned to face him. I'm a criminal, Mr. Reed. I've done terrible things. But even I have lines I don't cross. Your children found that line. They trusted it. That means something. A knock at the door made both men tense. Marco appeared. Boss, we've got movement. Keller's vehicle just circled the block 3 times. He's testing our response. Victor nodded. Let him. I want to know who he calls after. And if he approaches the building? You stop him. Politely. Legally. We do this right. Victor looked at Marcus. Keep your kids inside tonight. Tomorrow, we go public. Public how? We hold a press conference. You, me, the parents from that document. We make this the mayor's problem. We force the police to act. And we make sure every parent in this city knows what's been happening. Marcus's heart hammered. That's going to make Keller desperate. Yes, it will. Victor's smile was sharp and cold. And desperate people make mistakes. The press conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. outside Southbridge Academy. By 9:45, over 300 people had gathered. Parents, teachers, community organizers, news crews from every major network. Even the mayor's office had sent a representative. Damage control, disguised as concern. Marcus stood behind a makeshift podium, his 3 children beside him. He'd wanted to leave them home, but Victor had insisted. People need to see them, Victor had said. Need to understand this isn't abstract. These are real children. Now, facing cameras and microphones, Marcus understood. 3 weeks ago, Marcus began, voice shaking. My children told me they were scared. A man had been watching them, following them. The police said there was no evidence, no crime, no case. But yesterday, my 7-year-old daughter was brave enough to ask a stranger for help. And that stranger listened. He gestured to Victor, who stood off to the side, expressionless. Victor Moretti isn't a hero. He'll tell you that himself. But he did what our police couldn't, or wouldn't do. He took my children seriously. And because of that, we now know there were 43 complaints from parents about the same man stalking the same school. 43 families who were told they were overreacting. 43 children who weren't protected. The crowd murmured. Cameras flashed. A reporter shouted a question. Mr. Reed, are you saying the police department ignored evidence of a predator? I'm saying the system is broken, and children are paying the price. Another reporter, this one to Victor. Mr. Moretti, you're a known crime figure. Why should the public trust your involvement? Victor stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice carried across the crowd like a verdict. Because I have nothing to lose. Politicians worry about elections. Police worry about budgets. I don't answer to anyone.
I just answer to what's right. And what's right is protecting children. Period.
But your methods...
My methods are irrelevant. What matters is results. Yesterday, I walked 3 kids to school. Today, a predator knows the whole city is watching. Tomorrow, he'll be in custody. Or he'll be gone. Either way, he won't hurt anyone else. A woman pushed through the crowd. Rosa Martinez, the mother who'd started the Facebook thread.
I want to say something.
She grabbed the microphone.
For weeks, I thought I was crazy. My daughter said a man was watching. I called the police. They told me there was no proof. But I knew. Every mother here knew. We just needed someone to listen. So thank you, Mr. Moretti. And thank you, Lily, Eli, Noah. You spoke up when adults stayed silent.
Applause rippled through the gathering. Then more parents stepped forward, each telling similar stories. Complaints filed, concerns dismissed, children frightened, system failing. The mayor's representative looked increasingly uncomfortable.
"This is the last time," one father said, voice breaking. "The last time we let bureaucracy protect predators instead of children."
The press conference lasted 47 minutes. By the end, 3 city council members had promised investigations. The police chief had issued a statement about reviewing protocols, and the shared document had been officially entered as evidence in an investigation. But Raymond Keller was still free, and he was watching. From a parking garage 4 blocks away, Raymond sat in his SUV, live streaming the press conference on his phone. His hands shook with rage. That bastard Moretti had turned this into a crusade, had made Raymond visible when invisibility was his only protection. His phone buzzed, a message from his mysterious partner. "This is bad, but it's also opportunity. City's focused on you. That means they're not focused on us. Moretti gave us cover. Use it." "How?" Raymond typed back furiously. "He thinks he's protecting them. Prove him wrong. Tonight."
Make him understand that power can't save everyone. Raymond stared at the message, at the screen showing Victor Moretti surrounded by parents and children, at the world closing in. He'd spent his whole life being invisible, being nothing, being the person people forgot. Now everyone knew his name. His face was on every news station. Police were looking for him. He had nothing left to lose. "What do you need me to do?" he typed. The response came with an address, a warehouse on the docks, abandoned. Perfect for what came next. "Bring the children there. We'll handle the rest. Moretti will come. And when he does, we'll be ready." Raymond smiled. It was a terrible smile. The smile of a man who'd stopped pretending to be human. He started the engine. Across town, inside the warehouse, men were preparing, setting up cameras, preparing restraints, creating something worse than kidnapping. They were creating a market, and 3 7-year-old children were about to become the product. Victor received the message at 11:32 p.m. It was simple, direct, impossible to misinterpret. A photo of Marcus Reed's apartment building, taken from inside, his children asleep in their beds. And the single line, "Protection is theater, power is illusion. Meet me at the docks, or learn what happens when monsters stop playing by rules." Victor stared at his phone, ice flooding his veins. Beside him, Marco spoke carefully. "Boss, it's a trap." "Obviously." "We can't go." "We have to." "They'll kill you." Victor looked up. "They'll kill those children if I don't." The room went silent.
5 of Victor's most trusted men stood around the table covered in maps and surveillance photos. They'd been tracking Keller for 18 hours. They knew his patterns, his contacts, his hiding spots. But they didn't know who was helping him. "Whoever sent this has resources," Vincent said. "They got past our security, got inside that building without being seen. That's professional." "Which means this isn't about Keller anymore," Victor said. "He's just the face. Someone's using him." "Using him for what?" Victor's phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, a video. It showed the interior of a warehouse. Dark, empty, industrial. And in the center, 3 small chairs. The video ended with coordinates and a time. 2 a.m., 90 minutes away. "We call the police," Marcos said. "And say what? That a crime lord received a threatening message? They'd laugh. Or worse, they'd arrest me and investigate while those kids get moved somewhere we'll never find them." "So what's the play?" Victor studied the map. The coordinates pointed to the old shipping district.
Abandoned warehouses that have been empty since the 90s. Perfect for an ambush. Perfect for disappearing. Perfect for dying. I go alone. Absolutely not. They're expecting me to bring people. Expecting a show of force. We give them the opposite. Victor started strapping on body armor. "But you don't stay home. You coordinate with Marcus. Get those kids somewhere safe. Somewhere even I don't know. And you track my phone. If this goes wrong, boss, if this goes wrong, you make sure Raymond Keller never sees daylight again. I don't care about his partners. I don't care about the network. You get him. Understood?"
The men nodded, faces grim. Victor checked his weapon. A Glock 19. Simple, reliable. He'd carried it for 15 years. It had saved his life twice and taken 7 others. Tonight might make it 8. Or tonight might be the night it failed him. At 1:47 a.m., Victor pulled up to the warehouse alone. The building was massive. 4 stories of rusted metal and broken windows. The kind of place where screams wouldn't carry and bodies wouldn't be found until spring. Victor stepped out of the SUV, left the engine running, left the driver's door open. He walked toward the entrance, hands visible, weapon holstered. The door was unlocked. Inside, darkness. The smell of mildew and decay. Footsteps echoing on concrete. Victor moved deeper into the warehouse, every sense heightened, watching for movement, listening for breathing, looking for wires, tripwires, anything that might kill him before he even saw the threat. A light clicked on, center of the room, harsh, blinding, and beneath it, 3 chairs, empty. Victor's blood ran cold. "Looking for something." The voice came from above. Victor looked up. Catwalks, shadows moving. Raymond Keller appeared first, leaning over a railing like a spectator at a show. "I didn't bring them," Raymond said, smiling. "Did you really think I'd make it that easy? Where are they? Safe? For now." Raymond gestured, and more lights came on. Victor saw them then. 6 men, positioned on different levels, all armed. "See, Mr. Moretti, you made a mistake. You made those children famous, made them valuable, and value attracts buyers. Buyers. People who pay for specific products. Resilient children. Children with stories. Children who survived." Raymond's smile widened. "Children who asked Chicago's most feared man for help. That's quite a story. Quite a price tag." Victor's hand moved toward his weapon. "I wouldn't," a new voice said. From the shadows stepped a man in an expensive suit. Clean, professional. everything Raymond wasn't. Mr. Moretti, I've heard so much about you. Who are you? A businessman. Raymond here is an entrepreneur. He finds products. I connect them with markets. It's a simple arrangement. You're trafficking children. I'm providing services to clients with specific needs. The semantics don't concern me. The man checked his watch. You have 2 minutes to make a choice. Walk
Away now. And those children disappear. No one finds them. No one proves anything. You'll spend the rest of your life wondering. Or
what?
Or you die here. My people deliver the children anyway. And your legacy becomes a cautionary tale about mob bosses who thought they could play hero.
Victor's mind raced. They had him. He'd walked into a trap expecting to trade himself for the children. But they weren't here. Never had been. This wasn't a rescue. It was an execution.
There's a third option, Victor said.
Oh?
Victor pulled his phone from his pocket, tossed it on the ground between them. On the screen, a live feed. Marcus Reed's apartment. Empty. Those children are gone. I moved them 2 hours ago. Somewhere you'll never find them. And every person in this warehouse? They're on camera right now. The businessman's face changed.
You're bluffing.
Am I? Check your men's phones. See how many signal blockers you need to stop a satellite uplink. Confusion rippled through the armed men. One checked his phone, swore. He's broadcasting. We're live. The businessman's composure cracked. Kill him! Now! Gunfire erupted. Victor dove behind a concrete pillar. Bullets sparked off metal, ricocheted, screamed through the dark. He returned fire. One man dropped, then another, but there were too many. Victor felt something punch his shoulder, hot, sharp. He staggered, kept moving. Outside, sirens wailed. Marco had been listening, had called in every favor Victor had ever earned, legitimate, illegitimate. It didn't matter. Police flooded the warehouse, FBI right behind them. Because Victor hadn't just broadcast the feed to Marco, he'd sent it to 3 news stations, to the mayor's office, to every city council member who'd promised investigations. He'd made this public, made it impossible to cover up. The businessman ran. Raymond tried to follow. Victor caught him by the collar, slammed him against a wall. Where are they? I told you, they're gone. You'll never... Victor pressed his gun against Raymond's temple. Wrong answer. You won't kill me. Not here. Not with cops watching. Victor smiled. It was the smile of a man who'd stopped caring about consequences. You're right. I won't kill you. But I'll make sure every prisoner in Illinois knows exactly what you are. And we both know what happens to men like you in prison. Raymond's face went white. The address, now. Storage unit, Pulaski and 18th, Unit 47. Victor called Marco. Pulaski and 18th, Storage Unit 47. Now. Then he let Raymond drop. Let the police take him. Let justice, whatever that meant anymore, run its course. Victor stumbled out of the warehouse, clutching his shoulder. Blood soaked through his shirt. An amusement was waiting. Paramedics swarmed him. Sir, you've been shot. I know. Just tell me if those kids are okay. His phone buzzed. Marco's voice. We got them, boss. All 3. Scared but unharmed. They're through you. Victor closed his eyes. Let the
paramedics work. Let the pain wash over him. He'd done it. Broken his own rules. Exposed himself. sacrificed power and secrecy and everything that kept him alive in his world. For 3 children he'd known for 2 days. And he'd do it again.
6 months later, Chicago looked different. Not physically. The streets were still cracked, the buildings still old, winter still brutal. But something had shifted. Marcus Reed stood in front of a new community center in Pilsen. The building had been abandoned for a decade before Victor Moretti's money, legitimate money, carefully laundered through a dozen legal entities, had bought and renovated it. The sign above the entrance read, "Elena's Haven, a safe place for every child." Inside, children played in supervised rooms. Parents attended safety workshops. Security professionals taught kids about recognizing danger without living in fear. It was everything the system should have provided, but didn't. Marcus had been promoted, not to a better cleaning job, to director of operations. A real salary, real benefits, the kind of stability his children needed. The triplets were different now, still cautious, still aware, but no longer paralyzed by fear. Therapy helped. So did knowing that 47 predators had been arrested in the coordinated raids that followed that night at the warehouse. Raymond Keller was awaiting trial. His mysterious partner, a man named Thomas Vance, who'd run an international trafficking network, was in federal custody. Dozens of children had been recovered, and it had started because 3 7-year-olds had been brave enough to ask for help.
"Dad, is Mr. Victor coming today?"
Lily asked. Marcus looked toward the entrance. He said he would. Victor Moretti walked in at exactly 3 p.m. He looked different, older, quieter. The tattoos were still visible, but he'd started wearing higher collars. The gunshot wound had healed, leaving another scar to add to his collection. His empire had shrunk. Prosecutors had used the publicity to launch investigations. Victor had made deals, stepped back from certain operations, redirected resources. Some called it redemption. Victor called it practicality. "Nice turnout," Victor said, surveying the crowded community center. 70 families registered this month, Marcus replied. "More coming." "Good." They stood in comfortable silence, watching children play. Eli was helping a younger kid with homework. Noah was showing someone his new glasses. Lily was organizing a game of tag with military precision. "I got a call yesterday," Victor said, "from a senator in Washington. Wants to talk about federal
funding for centers like this, nationwide. Because of what happened. Because 3 kids made people pay attention. Made it impossible to look away. Victor pulled an envelope from his jacket. "This is for them. College fund. Full ride. Wherever they want to go." Marcus stared at the envelope. "Victor, I can't." "You can. And you will. Those kids changed everything. They deserve a future that isn't defined by what almost happened." "What about your future?" Victor smiled. It was still a dangerous smile, but softer now. Earned. "I'm retiring. Mostly. Enough to stay alive. Enough to keep funding this place. But the empire?" He shrugged. "Someone else can have it. I've got better things to do." "Like what?" "Like making sure Elena's Haven opens in 10 more cities by next year. Like proving that the worst person you know can still do something right." He paused. "Like being someone my sister would have been proud of." Across the room, Lily noticed Victor. She ran over, brothers following.
"Mr. Victor, did you see? We have a library now."
"I heard. You picked out the books?"
"Some of them. Dad helped. But I chose all the ones about brave people."
"Smart choice."
"Are you staying for dinner? We're having pizza."
Victor glanced at Marcus, who nodded. "Yeah, kid. I'm staying." The celebration went until 8 p.m.,
Families eating together, children playing, parents sharing stories. A community built from fear, transformed into something resembling hope. When it was over, Victor helped Marcus clean up. "You know this doesn't fix everything," Victor said. "There are still predators, still broken systems, still children who need help." "I know, but we fixed this. That has to count for something." "It does." Victor picked up a child's drawing from a table, a crude sketch of a man in a dark coat holding hands with 3 small figures. "It counts for everything." Outside, Chicago's night settled in. Streetlights flickered on. The city hummed with its familiar chaos, sirens and music and the endless movement of millions of lives intersecting. Somewhere in that chaos, another child needed help. Another parent felt overwhelmed. Another system was failing. But now there was a blueprint, a precedent, proof that sometimes courage looked like 3 terrified children asking the wrong man for help, and that man choosing to become the right one. Victor Moretti walked to his car, alone but not lonely, dangerous but not damned. Behind him, inside Elena's haven, 3 children laughed. Safe, protected, free. And that sound, that simple, perfect sound of childhood reclaimed, was worth every sacrifice, every bullet, every lost ally, every piece of his empire that had crumbled. Because legacy wasn't built on fear. It was built on the moments you chose to protect innocence instead of power. And Victor Moretti, Chicago's most feared man, had finally chosen right.
2 years later, the video resurfaced. A documentary filmmaker had compiled it with interviews, news footage, and testimony from the trials. It told the whole story. The stalking, the approach, the war that followed. The film premiered at Sundance and won awards. But more importantly, it sparked a movement. Across America, parents formed safety networks. Community centers opened. Laws changed. Police protocols were reformed. And at the center of every conversation was the same lesson. Listen to children. Believe them. Protect them. Even when, especially when, it's hard. The Reed triplets were 9 now. Still close. Still brave. Eli wanted to be a lawyer. Noah was learning computer science. Lily had announced she wanted to work with kids who were scared. "Like Mr. Victor did for us," she'd said. Marcus had remarried. A woman named Angela, who understood trauma and patience and the slow work of building trust. And Victor? Victor Moretti disappeared from public life. Some said he died. Others claimed witness protection. A few insisted he'd gone international. The truth was simpler. He'd bought a small house in Oregon, near the coast, quiet, anonymous. He spent his days managing Elena's haven remotely, funding expansions, ensuring quality, making sure no child ever fell through the cracks the way his sister had. He still had nightmares, still woke up reaching for weapons that weren't there. But sometimes, on good days, he received letters from parents thanking him, from children who were safe, from Marcus Reed, updating him on 3 kids who changed everything. And on those days, Victor Moretti, the man who'd built an empire on fear, smiled. Because maybe, just maybe, redemption wasn't impossible. Maybe it just required the courage to answer when innocence called for help, and the strength to say yes.